Welcome back to another episode of Simp Robotics, the podcast, a podcast exploring the animation industry one episode at a time. I'm your host, Monique, and you can find me on all social media platforms at Simp Robotics, SIMPLYROBOTIX. I don't know why I really sang that, but I did. So, if you couldn't tell by the title, this is going to be a Black History Month type of themed whatever episode. I originally started... Well, I didn't start it. I watched a whole nother film and I was doing my preparation to record. And then I was like, it's the first week of Black History Month. You cannot not talk about like Blackness in some capacity. So I said, I'll put that on the back burner. I'll release that episode like next month and I'll do something else instead. And the something else that I've decided to do is just to make the pivot to highlight some, acclaimed, conversation worthy short films that were either directed or produced or written or some capacity by Black people. So for starters, I have this op doc from the New York Times called What It Means to Be Police in America, and it was directed, I think it was written and directed by Laurence. Op docs is a form of short opinionated documentaries by independent filmmakers, which is platformed on the New York Times website. So I was sent this film towards the end of 2020 and it was released in the summer of 2020, around the time where all those Black Lives Matters protests and awareness and things like that were happening. And I wonder if, it's just so unfortunate to a certain extent how relevant police brutality and injustice is, and that I don't know, this short film wasn't made with the intention to be released with the Black Lives Matter movement. I don't think so, because I know about the time it takes to make an animated short and what have you. I think it really was they wanted to tell a story in a certain capacity in this medium, and it just happened to sync with what was happening in the media, what was happening just of that time. The short film is called, I was seeing two titles, which was a little confusing to me because it says What It Means to Be Police in America, but I was also seeing the torture letters. And as always, I have the link to the short films. You can see two of these short films are going to be on Netflix. The rest of them are on YouTube. On YouTube or on the New York Times, they kind of flip between calling it the torture letters and What It Means to Be Police in Brutality. So, I'm going to read this. Bear with me. The Torture Letters aims to shed light on an unacceptable tolerance of police misconduct in the United States. In an accompanying essay, director Dr. Laurence writes, I made the film above to explain exactly what it means to be police in America today. It moves from my own experiences with racial profiling as a teenager to the horrific history of police torture in Chicago. There's a bit more to it that he wrote, and just some of the recent unfortunate police murders of Black people, and how that just further impacted him to move forward with creating this film. So the reason why I thought it was worth noting is, for one, the subject matter. Two, a Black person created it. Three, it's 2D animated, and we know, despite, as I always say, me having studied or being trained as a 3D animator, for my career experience to be in 3D animation and the films that I've worked on, I still have an affinity for 2D animation. I don't think they'll ever go away. So I love seeing 2D animation where it's kind of raw. This short film had a lot of morphing. So, I mean, that's self-explanatory, but the characters would be humans, and then they'll kind of shift into these abstract pieces or whatever, and then end up assembling into, if it's a building or a street or just whatever, something like that. If you are subscribed to my Patreon, and if you're not, I'm going to tell you now, but I'm making a short film, and the short film is an animated documentary. So it was nice to see an animated documentary in this capacity, where that they had some other voices, Black voices of kids, unfortunately, telling their experiences or encounters with the police. And so it was just really inspiring for me in that regard. Visually, the film is pretty grayscale. It's black, white, and gray. There's no color, and they just navigate the different hues for their storytelling. And I thought that was dope too, just having like a muted visual palette.